A new boiler does not automatically make a home worth more. Neither does replacing a roof. Neither does replacing a failing septic system. The same applies to an arsenic or radon water treatment system. These can all be expensive projects, so it's understandable when a seller asks, if I spend this money, how much value will it add? Most of the time, it is not going to add value dollar for dollar. It's not going to take a home that is worth $400,000 and suddenly make it worth $420,000 because the seller installed a boiler, replaced the roof, or put in a water system. Buyers expect the basic systems of a home to work. They expect the roof not to leak. They expect the heating system to function properly. They expect the septic system to work as it should. They expect safe, usable water. Taking care of one of those problems usually does not put the property above market value. It gets the property back to market value. That is the part sellers sometimes have a hard time with. They see the amount they're spending and naturally want to add the amount to the price. But the market does not always look at it that way. A new boiler may make the home sell easier, but the buyers are not necessarily going to pay a large premium because the home has a new heating system. A new roof removes a major concern, but buyers already expect the house to keep the weather out. A working septic system is not a luxury feature. It's something the house needs. A water treatment system for arsenic or radon is not an upgrade in the buyer's mind. It's a solution to a problem that needed to be addressed. The seller may not receive extra money for doing the work, but not doing the work can cost them even more. A seller can easily get hit twice. The first hit is in the price to fix the problem. The second hit is the additional discount the buyer wants because they're taking on the work, the timing, the inconvenience, and the uncertainty. Let's say the home needs a new boiler. The buyer gets an estimate for the replacement. They're probably not going to ask for only the exact amount of that estimate. They may want more because they have to schedule the work, deal with the possibility that the estimate changes, and take the chance that something else is discovered during the installation. Same thing happens with the roof. The buyer sees the replacement cost, but they may also be worried about leaks, damaged sheathing, insulation, mold, or other problems that may not yet be visible. With a failing septic system, the uncertainty becomes even larger. Where will the new system go? What will the design require? Will the site support it? How much of the yard will be disturbed? What happens if the actual cost is higher than expected? With arsenic or radon or any other water issue, the buyer starts wondering which system is needed, what it will cost, whether it will work, what maintenance is involved, and whether the water will still test properly afterward. Even when there's a clear solution, an unresolved problem feels bigger to the buyer. So the buyer does not just deduct the cost of the work. They often deduct the cost of the work plus an additional amount for taking on the problem. That is one way the seller gets hit twice. The other way is even worse. The seller agrees to discount the price because the boiler, roof, septic system, or water issue has not been addressed. Then after giving the discount, they find out the work still has to be complete for the sale to move forward. Now the seller reduced the price and still has to pay for the repair or replacement. They give the buyer the discount and they pay for the work. That is why handling these issues early matters. Once the home is under contract, the seller is working against the deadline. The buyer is concerned, the closing date is coming, everyone is trying to get estimates, and the seller has less control over the situation. Before the home goes on the market, the seller can get multiple estimates. They can choose the contractor. They can understand the full scope of work. They can decide how they want to handle it. They can complete the project, document it, and present the home with the issue already resolved. That does not mean every seller has to replace every older system before listing. An older boiler that is working is different from a failed boiler. An older roof with useful life remaining is different from an actively leaking roof. A septic system that's functioning is different from one that has failed. The same goes with water systems. We need to understand the actual condition before giving advice. But when there is a known problem that needs to be fixed, ignoring it does not protect the seller's money. It usually weakens their position. The better conversation is not how much extra will I get for replacing it. The better conversation is how much could this cost me if I leave it unresolved? A new boiler, roof, septic system, water treatment system, or any other major repair may not put the home above market value, but it gets the home back to where it should be. It removes a reason for the buyer to discount the property, reduces uncertainty, and it can keep the seller from paying for the same problem twice. Identify the issues early, get real information, and give your seller time to make a good decision. The goal is not always to add value. Sometimes the goal is to stop a home from losing its value. That's all for this week. See you around.